Thank you, ladies, for coming. Today, my friends Maura and Sally are here because both of their children have type 1 diabetes. And I have two friends that have the kids have this, and I wanted to talk about it because I don't know anything about this condition. And I know that it's been really life-changing. I've talked to Maura's ex. Actually, we do pick up your ex and I at school a lot. So I talked to him a lot about how it's affected him.
Yes.
And how it's affected Liam. So I just wanted to talk to you about this condition. So how did you know something was wrong with your kids? How did you know?
For us, it was, he was going to the bathroom all the time.
And how old was he?
He was in 4th grade. So
Okay.
it was April 14th, 2016. So
Wow.
yeah. And he knows that date and he remembers that date.
Really?
Yes. And he had been kind of moody, not like him. And one day, it was like the only rainy day in Southern California, and we were watching a movie, and we literally started to pause the movie every 20 minutes so he could go to the bathroom. I said, something is wrong. That's it.
Yeah.
And so that was on the weekend. I made an appointment on Monday with the doctor. We went in on Thursday, and I kind of looked it up, and I'm thinking, oh, it must be like a UTI.
Yeah.
You know, it said type 1 diabetes, but it was like, it's rare.
Right.
My head did not go there at all.
Right.
And then we went to the doctor. They knew they knew, I think, when we called, and they
did?
They were like, the nurses, this is our pediatrician since birth. They know us so well.
Got it.
And they were, when they get a call that says they're going to the bathroom all the time, that's a huge signal.
Red flag, right. And
So-
Liam, active, really big athlete, decent eater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good diet.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, he could be he's always been a kind of a picky eater, but
Right.
But normal kid.
Right. But diet does not cause this type
I
of
think that's one of the
right?
biggest
Right.
misconceptions. So type 1, it really is an autoimmune disease where all of a sudden your body starts attacking your pancreas cells and slowly kills them. So they are no longer able to produce insulin. The beta cells that make insulin in everyone's body now no longer work in a type 1 diabetic. And there is nothing that can change that until there is hopefully a cure soon. For type 2, which is much more common and the one that there are commercials for products for, and
Right.
there's so many things you can do. Diet and exercise can actually help prevent or reverse it.
Right.
But for type 1, it's completely false. It has nothing to do with what you ate or didn't eat or anything there's nothing. And this is one of the hard things for me to understand when we first got diagnosed was there was literally nothing I could have done.
Right.
I couldn't have, my pediatrician was just like, you could have been an endocrinologist watching this happen and you would not have known this was coming. And there is nothing you can do to prevent it. It's just a bad luck of the draw.
And they don't know what causes it, do they?
No, not really. I mean, there is a genetic piece they say,
Yeah.
but there's nobody in our family.
Right.
We don't have
That
anyone
has
we don't have anyone in our family either. And then one of the things that I've heard a lot of anecdotally, and then I also happen to know somebody who's in pediatric immunology at UCLA, and basically they think the first question I'm asked is, well, was Molly sick right beforehand? So for us, Molly had strep twice the entire month of October. She was sick after really not being sick at all. For most of her young childhood, she was only 6. And then literally the next month she got at Thanksgiving, we found out that she was type 1. And similar story. Like of course, I thought it was a UTI. We were at Disneyland the week of Thanksgiving that Monday with my cousin who was in town from Chicago and her kids. And literally we got off every single ride and were sprinting for the bathroom and then needed a bottle of water as well. And it's basically like your body is trying to equalize everything because you're super thirsty. You're trying to flush out all the ketones that your body is building up because you don't have the insulin that your body needs to process those carbs.
Got it.
So it's amazing. But I've heard now from enough people about the illness or asked by enough other doctors were you sick the month before or were you sick immediately before she got diagnosed? And the hypothesis is that when her body was fighting the strep, those same antibodies mistook her pancreas cells for actually being the virus and beat them up until they no longer worked.
I've never
Were you
heard
sick
that.
beforehand?
He wasn't sick. So I have 2 children. He has was always so healthy.
Yeah, we were
never
too.
sick.
We were too.
The only thing, and I always think about this, was he got a spider bite. And it was got infected, on an antibiotic.
Yeah.
It was several months before. But that's all that was the only thing. And I thought, was there something?
Right, that happened.
That happened with that infection in his body? It's kind of random.
It's random, but because it's an autoimmune
I couldn't
disease,
figure it out.
Yeah, no, I couldn't either. And I don't know that this is it either. I think that's the mystery of all of it, is that you really don't know.
Right.
For some people, it's clear. Like there's, they have a history of it in their family and they can see that link. We just don't have that, and this keeps coming up as one of those possibilities, so to speak.
Wow.
But yeah, as soon as same thing. Like as soon as I put all this together, of course, did an internet search, and I was positive that it was a UTI. We'd had, my daughter had one before. She was 6 at the time, and so we went to urgent care, and same thing, like immediately found out that was the case, and then we were off to Santa Monica UCLA hospital for a 4-day stay to get back
You were
to balance.
in the hospital?
We were in the
Admitted
hospital
her.
for 4 days. Yeah, she was at her blood sugar. So everybody's blood sugar, every normal person, your blood sugar vacillates between like 80 and 150 for most of the day. But you eat, it goes up. You insulin works, and all the other things in your body work. It comes back down. Hers was 457 when we checked in, which...
Wait, what?
Yeah, which sounds super high
Yeah,
when you
it
hear
does.
the 80 to 150, 180 range. But what we learned is we were really lucky, because a lot of kids that get admitted get admitted because they're going into what's called DKA, which can put them into a coma, and they're at 800, they're at 1,000.
Oh my God.
They're at 1,200. And so over
How
and over again at the
scary.
hospital, people kept telling us, "You're so lucky you caught
Yes.
this so early." Do you have the same?
Well, he wasn't, they didn't even have to admit him.
Oh,
so
lucky.
we were at our pediatrician, and they said, they tested, they said he's a type 1 diabetic. The Children's Hospital emergency room is waiting for you.
Wow.
And that was it. I mean, and then we directly went right to the hospital.
Right, yeah.
And they were trying to determine if he needed to stay overnight. But his number, they said, okay. It was the afternoon, because we had his baseball stuff in the car. We were going to baseball practice right after the appointment. And yeah, and we ended up there. They sent us home, but we had to be back at like 7 a.m. the next day, where they put you in a little room, and it's the worst day of
your life.
Worst day of your life.
Why is it the worst day of your life?
Because your life is never going to be
for
the same.
obvious reasons, but tell me why.
You are in, for us, we were in this small, quote unquote, education room for 6 hours maybe, learning. It was like a crash course on what I had no idea about type 1 diabetes. Crash course about basically what you need to do to keep your child alive.
Right.
And then
How
you
scary.
have to leave.
Right.
And you had to absorb enough of that you have to go home and do it.
Right.
And they just
And that's it.
They say good luck.
It's like having a newborn. Like
it
all of a
is-
sudden, but instead of all the excitement and anticipation, whereas when you have a newborn, you've had months to learn how to do all these things. At UCLA, they give you a whopping 2 hours with a diabetes educator to teach you a little bit about carb counting. They won't let you out of the hospital until you can prove that you can give your child shots, which I have to say was a thing I never thought I would be able to do. But the alternative is you can't keep your kid alive. So
Yeah, totally.
you learn quickly how to do this, and your kid hopefully goes with the flow on all of this, because it's a life-changing thing for them as well. But you leave the hospital in a world where you don't know at any point in time if you're going to be back, because they're too low or too high. If they're too low, they could go into a coma. If they're too high, the damage is, they could also go into a coma, but the damage, long-term damages could be significant. If, it just, you're going to be doing 3 to 6 shots a day in that early stages when you're correcting and adjusting and learning. And it's real. Everything is frightening. You're doing math all day long.
All day
that
long.
You probably haven't done.
Maura's
for a
really good at
long
math. She's an excellent math teacher, but that would not be how
Not
you'd
be
want
one of
to
your
spend your
things.
skills, right?
Right.
No.
You become a carb counting expert.
And you're scared.
You're
Yeah.
scared all the time.
It was terrifying.
Yeah.
And I had never given a shot before.
Right.
I mean, the first time
Yeah.
when you're in the room, they make you do it.
Right.
And I thought I was going to break down. I mean, and I couldn't break down
Yeah.
because I couldn't.
Because you're mommy.
I need to be there,
Yeah.
and I can't. He's scared too, and can't show him how terrified I am.
Sure.
They need to believe that you are confident that you can keep them alive, that you can.
Yeah.
do this for them,
You're the anchor.
and that this is not going to be so hard for them. Like you're trying, it's the hardest thing you're doing. You're trying to be like, no, we got this. We're going to be able to do that. You're going to be able to play baseball, or in our case, soccer. Like we had a soccer game that following week. Like, no. You're going to be able to do everything else you were before. You're going to be able to have the pizza, the cupcake. Like it's going to be fine. But inside, you're a disaster.
And I have to say one thing that CHLA did, that Children's Hospital Los Angeles, which they've been amazing. They have amazing support systems in place because we were calling. You probably had to do the same thing. We had a nurse where we had to report his numbers every single day for a certain number of days to make sure that he was in a certain range, that we were keeping him in a certain range as we were learning. And we were assigned a nurse. And I still have a nurse that I call when we need adjustments. And so there's a great support system there. But
it's got to be ever changing, because as they grow, they're you eat a piece of pizza when you're 6, you eat a piece of pizza when you're 12. Is totally different, affecting your body. That would be so hard. I guess it's just math. Is it just math?
No.
Okay.
Because your body is. I saw this thing recently, and I want to say it was on this great Facebook group called T1D Mod Squad, and it's. I don't know if you're in that one, but it's
I'm not
amazing.
on that one.
But there's so many support groups on Facebook, basically about moms, and it's the Mom Network on this, and the Dad Network is really the best source for information, I think, beyond everything, because they basically teach you all of these little tips and tricks. But somebody posted recently that there are 42 different things that affect your blood sugar.
42.
You're stressed, your workout, you're sad, any emotion can throw all this stuff off. But yes, when you're a teenager, to your point, you have a growth spurt, you're totally going to be thrown off. But then there are things like, and pizza's a great one, because we had it last night for dinner. We went to bed and we were perfectly fine at blood sugar, but it's somehow pizza backs up like 2 hours later to cause this delayed spike. So we're asleep, and all of a sudden I get and I think we're fine, and all of a sudden the alarms are going off on my phone, because Molly has a continuous glucose monitor, a CGM called a Dexcom, that then tells me that, oh no, she's now she's encroaching 300, like it's time to give her more insulin.
Right.
So even when you think you've done the math completely correctly, or you've done something like, this is a food she's had multiple times, I think we've done everything as we've done it before, I'm completely confident that we are in good place. And then I'm up from midnight to 2 a.m. watching it all unfold to see if it comes down, because the first wave of insulin wasn't enough. It was the amount it said to dose, wasn't enough. So 2 hours later, we're only down 20. So we need more. And you're kind of trying to make sure your kid, it's a lot for sure.
It's
more than I ever knew.
a lot. It's like, I'm never complaining again about Isla waking up in the middle of the night. She just doesn't sleep well.
Yeah.
But
They don't wake up. I will say this.
No, he doesn't wake up either. He has so I'll ask you in just a second. I want to hear what system you have, what system you're using, but Liam has a pump and it alarms, and he doesn't wake up. How he doesn't wake up, I am probably the furthest point. My room is the furthest point from his room. We couldn't be, not that our house is that big, but I wake up, like I instantly hear it. My friend who is staying with us right now was saying, so is it really loud that you hear it, or do you think you just hear it as a mom?
it's your mom radar, probably.
Yeah,
partly.
and I said it's probably partly that. People talk about this, that since diagnosis, you probably have not slept well since the diagnosis,
right?
Because a lot can go wrong in the night.
Well, I know you weren't sleeping kind of at all in the beginning, were you?
Oh no. I mean, you are up 3 times a night at least.
Especially because you're both single moms.
Oh, are you single mom?
Both single mom, which is
so much more fun that way.
Is a nightmare. I mean, I'm a single mom 5 days a week.
Right.
It's enough to know that would be
it's a challenge.
Unbelievably hard, emotionally, mentally, physically, in every way. That's got to be so hard.
You're exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
And there really aren't great options, so to speak, for catching up on that sleep. Like you just kind of get used to subsisting on 3 to 5 hours of sleep a night, and 5 hours feels like a win. Like,
and you try, like I'll just try to go. I'm like, okay, I just have to go to make sure I'm in bed earlier the night before, because you just don't know when you're going to be up. And the other night it was for some, again, like what just happened went off the rails. It was like 4 times in an hour.
Wow.
And he was low, and it was like a weird low. And I'm like, why is this? What's going on? Like,
why is this happening?
He went to bed at a great number.
Right.
Was this, because sometimes they say, late afternoon activity, it can be hours later that you see a drop. So, they say to watch for that, but we really haven't had that too much.
We haven't either.
I'm like, so why tonight? I mean, he had been swimming a lot, but I that's the only thing I can chalk it up to.
Right.
But it was crazy.
Right. We were at the beach last weekend, and which is always dicey because none of the glucose monitors work in the water, and so in that they don't transmit what the number is. Like when they then are dry, they'll then transmit the numbers to you, and you'll see like how fast and how quickly they went down. But I found Molly and her friend Willa. Finally, like, we're just going to sit down and play in the sand. And so I walked over with like a bucket of watermelon and just started feeding both of their sand color, because I knew as soon as it clicked in, it was going to be low because they've been in the waves. And that's what you find. Like, you're kind of preemptively guessing when you're athletic based on past experience, and you hope that you're not stacking, you're doing it right. Like in this case, when it finally clicked in, she was at 80 and going down, which is a low number. And I'm like, okay, great. You needed half this watermelon. And so did her friends. So it also then doesn't look like here's this hysterical mom coming to ply my kid with sugar. It's just like, oh, here's you and your friend, and you both need watermelon and grapes. Please enjoy. But
please enjoy all of them.
Please enjoy all of them.
Right.
But there are times that you're definitely like, they're low, and or the school nurse is running in going, okay, here's a Halloween size snack pack of Skittles. Please eat the whole thing because you're low enough. And those fast sugars end up being what bring you back into a normal range really fast, whether it's Skittles, Swedish Fish, High Chews. But like, you figure out pretty quickly what those things are, what your kid will eat. And then the other kids in the class, of course, are like, why did they get that? And you're like, oh my God, you really don't want this disease.
Right. Trust me.
Trust me on this one.
Pass on the Skittles. Right.
I know.
You can pass on them.
It looks great right now.
But it's not.
Most of the time,
but it's
not so much.
So you've got to be worried about when they get to be real teenagers. I mean, Liam's pretty close. Liam's going into 7th grade. He's the same age as Isla.
He's 12. So
okay.
How old?
Molly's 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she got diagnosed at 6, and she old enough that she remembers when she didn't have diabetes. I don't know if Liam does this, but we'll definitely have these moments where it's like, I wish I were 6 again because I didn't have diabetes, and I wish I could go back.
You're breaking my heart.
It wears on them.
It does.
And that I noticed that, like, and we go in waves.
Yeah.
But it wears on him, and he's kind of in that a little bit right now, and it's it's. Why do I have to prick my finger? Or why do I have to, he has, like I said, a pump and a CGM. The CGM is that continuous glucose monitor. The insertion for the pump is changed every 3 days. You're basically shooting a cannula, which is like a needle, into him every 3 days. It hurts.
Right.
And the CGM is every 6 days in the arm, and that one's worse. I don't know if it's for him it's worth it hurts for us more. Too. And he's really great about it, but and we usually say, does it hurt? Like, I just got a call on my way over, and he said, because I had to do both changes before I came, and he said, my arm is really hurting, Mom, more than. I said, okay, so more than usual. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, I'm going to stop home before come here. And I looked, and I'm like, okay, I can see it's a little bit of a bleeder, so I can see underneath that there's some blood there.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily mean it will stop working, but we've had bleeders before, but they haven't hurt. So we're trying to figure out, okay, why is it hurting today? And
who knows?
God,
we don't know.
You have like a medical degree by the time.
Like a different.
Yes, you feel like you do.
Yeah.
Because you have to know about so many other things besides just this condition, like how to insert something physically into someone's body. This scares me so badly.
And that's a whole other thing, is it scares a lot of people. Like, we found that our school nurse this year was incredibly frighted by managing.
But she's a nurse.
Right.
And she doesn't get to be scared.
No, with 26 years of experience, she literally said to me, your daughter's condition, caring for your daughter defies my 26 years of medical experience. And I just wanted to cry, because I had 2 hours of training at UCLA to keep my kid. And granted, like, I am also one of those people who, when you hear that you're going to be doing this for in our case, like
Forever.
at least forever, like for a long time, like I've gone to the trainings at Padre, I've gone to the trainings with JDRF. Like if there was a way to learn more,
Right.
We've also, unfortunately, we did not start off at Children's Hospital LA. That is the best place, bar none, to be
Right.
at in the city, if not the state. On the West Coast, their practice is unbelievable. They have support in place that UCLA did not have in any way, in part
Right.
because you're dealing with residents. They were super nice, but they're learning on your child. So
Right.
you're behind the eight ball a lot. So we've also had an experience where we've had to go through the UCLA team, who are lovely people, but just not really as knowledgeable as we needed them to be. And then finally got into Dr. Raymond at Children's, who's just been unbelievable and changed our life on managing this disease. And I think that's one of the things we've learned too, is having a great care team, but having to learn so much about this and then realizing that there are other people who you're supposed to trust, and you're a nurse, you should be able to do this, and yet are so visibly and viscerally afraid as they approach your child 3 times a day. Really hard to deal with.
I
That
would
wouldn't
think.
work for me. You're right. You know, all school nurses are not created equal.
True.
And so
No.
and most of the time, you know, here in California, you don't have a full-time nurse.
Right.
So when you have a diabetic, you have them 1 day a week, and when you have a diabetic on the campus, they come in at lunch.
Yeah.
And they are also visiting about 4 different schools at lunch.
Right.
So if this was an issue I had where the nurse would be late, they have to have their insulin before they eat, and oftentimes there's a little bit of window time that they need. So here you're dealing with, and when Liam was diagnosed, he was 4th grade, and oddly enough, there were 2 other girls in his grade. No other diabetics on the campus. Let me tell you.
Really? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
And honestly, you know how things happen. One of them had just come to, it was her first year at the school. And she had been diagnosed the year before. And he was they were in the same class. And she
Right.
was like just a kick-ass girl.
Yeah.
Loved her, totally loved Star Wars, just like Liam.
Nice.
And they really connected. And I really feel like in this worst year of our life, she was there, and Liam was like, if she can do it, I can do it.
Right.
And they would like compete on their numbers, and it was just really, it softened the blow.
Right.
Unbelievably.
Yeah.
And these 2 kids knew, Liam very quickly became very savvy. When we were in that small room, and even though he was sometimes playing with something else, he heard everything that was said.
Oh, totally.
And he absorbed everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's been amazing. So when we had these nurses that would come in, they'd be like, she didn't do it right. Because when you first either use the pen or a needle, this was before the pump, you are supposed to hold the needle in for a certain number of seconds to make
Okay.
sure there's no leakage.
Right.
And they didn't do that. And they were like, that's not the way you do it.
Right.
And they had said this to me, so I work at the school. So I went in one day. I'm like, you didn't hold that in. I put my finger over it. I said, no, these kids know that's not okay.
Right.
She quickly moved on. Our
Yes.
principal was very supportive.
Okay.
But when these nurses are going from school to school, one day they were so super late, and so now these kids can't eat with their friends.
Right.
They can't even eat.
They can't
Right.
eat. Right.
So they're missing their whole lunch. They're missing recess.
Oh, God.
And the nurse came, and I could give, because I was at the school, I could give it to my son. I was not allowed to give it to the other child.
Right.
And the nurse was like, well, someone was high, and she couldn't. She had to give the insulin, but she had to wait. She had to check, or low. No, I'm sorry. The other
low,
child was
yeah.
low. She had to, because the child was low, she has to wait, give him the sugar, wait 15 minutes to make sure that the sugar level is okay before she can give him the insulin. So that pushed back all her other schools.
Oh, God.
So there's just all these little things.
What a mess.
It is a mess.
That's
and so
a
you
mess.
say when you're leaving your child there.
Yeah.
For me, the lucky part was that I was there. So I was right there in the beginning at every lunch.
Right.
And I was there
too.
at every high that he had.
Right.
But not everybody has that.
No.
And so for you to drop them and for that nurse to say that,
Yeah.
I would be completely freaked out.
Right.
Yes. How could you ever
Trust.
relax or
Right.
trust or, Yeah. How could you?
So I've just taken a job 2 blocks. To your point, like I just took a job that is a huge step back career-wise, but is 2 blocks, or not a huge step back career-wise, but definitely a step back to be 2 blocks from my child.
Right.
And this way, if this nurse is going to continue on because she is a union member, and I don't think she's going to be leaving anytime soon, I can go and do this myself. But to be honest, like that's certainly not, I think, the ideal scenario for her either. Because I don't know how many kids really want your mom popping up on campus, at snack time. And like anytime she has more than 4 carbs, she needs insulin. And she's right, like about the dosing of it, it sounds ridiculous that you need to have the needle stay in for a period of time. But like a drop of insulin does so much for your body. Like the dosing is actually really small. And so it's pretty amazing the precision that is needed to keep your child at a normal A1C. And then if they're not in normal range, the other thing of this from an education standpoint, if you're high, I went to lunch with a friend who works in animation at Disney who has this. And she was telling me, like, if I'm over 200, like I really shouldn't be in a meeting making decisions because I'm not able to focus she wanted to have lunch after I posted this on Facebook because she just wanted to be able to articulate to me what my 6-year-old couldn't.
Right.
And she was like, this is why she's having a hard time focusing and reading, most likely. She goes, this might be why she's having a hard time really paying attention in all the ways you would like her to, or being more cranky or more moody because your blood sugar, people are everyone's hangry every once in a while.
Yeah.
It's that times 10 for a diabetic. And so the emotion of all of it, and of course the other kids don't get this. And frankly, the teachers don't always get it.
Right.
So you're hoping you're walking into a really kind and supportive environment, which when we got first diagnosed was absolutely the case. And then it evolved when they got this new nurse last year. But
that stinks. She shouldn't have her job if she's scared of anything medically.
Right. She's really good at the paperwork, from what I understand.
Oh, well, that's a great
important.
Reason to keep her.
Super important.
Oh, my God.
But it's been interesting because, to your point, we ended up this summer completely by accident in a summer camp because, so when you're a type 1 diabetic and you have all these devices on you, at least for Molly, the first day of any camp is really hard because the other kids notice the devices and want to know, like, what is that? And then it becomes like mommy, please just deal with this. Like, I don't want to talk about it, right? So this was a camp that was 5 weeks. It's on the Roosevelt campus in Santa Monica, and it's all the kids from Santa Monica that want to go to camp converge on this one elementary school. So whereas each school has 1 diabetic, at this summer camp, somehow there's 4, and they are 7, 8, and 9, 3 girls and a boy, and they have all become friends because the nurse who normally would go, and the Roosevelt nurse is unbelievable, where she would normally go to each kid because there's 4. She's like, you guys will all come to me when you need insulin, and then they've all gotten to meet. And it is exactly your point. It has made it so much better to have the support of these other kids. I mean, and to see other kids, because that was a big thing too, of why am I the only one?
Yes.
But then, these kids are doing the same thing, and they're also going to diabetes camp, or they're also, playing on the monkey bars or doing all this stuff. And it's just good to be able to see someone else that's like you.
To relate, right?
Yeah.
To not feel so alone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that way with, I think, almost everything when you're a child.
True.
Learning disabilities, I can speak to.
True.
And for Isla to go, oh, she has the same problem I have, but just in math. Okay, so I get that. I understand how you feel. And I think they get a tenderness with each other, kids that have the same or similar condition that's not possible maybe from other kids because they just don't have any way of wrapping their head around it.
And with Liam, he has, there's one day we were in Children's Hospital, we were at the elevator, and this was within the first year. No, I guess it had been about a year. And we were at the elevator, and some woman stops me, both of us, and says, is your son a type 1 diabetic? And we looked at each other and we said, is it written all over us? Like, what? How did she know that?
Right?
That was so weird. And she's like, my son was just diagnosed. Could your son talk to my son? And she was just in this,
huge
like literally
fog.
it had just happened.
Right.
And I remembered that panic.
Right.
And the reason she knew, just because they give you a little kit, like they had been given the same one. So she recognized it. Liam wears a kit with him all the time, at all times, because there's certain things he needs sugars to keep. He needs, his testing, and he needs, glucagon and all those things to have.
Yeah.
So for a girl, it's they can wear a little purse.
Right.
So, but we've had to find something that he would,
Well, he could also wear a purse, Mom.
Right. So something that he wears, but he's funny because anyway. But so we said, of course, and so we ended up meeting up with them, and we had some he was a little younger, some play dates, etc., and Liam really, from that, realized, he goes, Mom, I think this is one of the things I'm meant to do. I'm meant to help other kids who've been diagnosed, because there was a kindergartner, and the teacher said, would Liam be willing to talk to this
he's
child?
such a good kid.
That's huge.
And I asked him, and he said yes. He says, and that's when he said, I just think it's something that I'm meant to talk to other people about. And I don't know if he got that in some ways from this girl who obviously helped him when he was diagnosed. Or, just that he has tremendous empathy anyway.
He does. He's very sweet.
But it's something that has kind of almost is a little bit of his mission, I guess.
Right.
That's amazing.
It is amazing.
So,
He's a really great kid.
Yeah.
He was an exceptional kid before this, I thought. He was always very sweet to Isla.
Yeah.
Isla had a little crush on him, but don't tell anybody. But Isla, that was the big joke. It would be like, so should we call Liam? She goes, stop! Stop doing that! He's
so
really
sweet.
cute, and he's really sweet, and he's really smart, and he's really athletic. He's like the total package.
That's very sweet.
really is.
He really is a great. I mean, of course, I'm the mother,
Right?
But
no,
he
but
really
I will
is,
say it for you. He's the total package.
He's a great kid, and this has been so difficult. And one thing I will say with CHLA in that small room, another friend of mine whose daughter was now a teenager was diagnosed. She said, "Oh my God, did they put you in that room?" That was the first.
Does
thing
the room have a window?
We didn't get to go
There
to
was
the
no
room.
window.
Oh, this is a scary room.
And
didn't
she
get to go to
said
this room. I'm now afraid of it.
she makes me laugh because she said she almost was losing her mind when her daughter was it was just when her daughter was going to be going to middle school when she was diagnosed, and she said her daughter got up to use the bathroom and she closed the door and lost it with the educator, are you kidding me? This is what you expect me to know, to walk out of here and know this much information? Are you? And then her daughter came back in and she's like, okay, so let's continue, just totally she was said to me, she was the first person when she knew that when I saw her this happened on a Thursday. I was out of work Friday. I was back at school Monday. She works at the same school I do. And she came up to me and in her being, she knew exactly the place where I was at. And it was, she was devastated for me because she knew what it entailed.
It is
that I was at the
life-altering.
tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
But now, how are you taking care of yourself where this is concerned?
That is the $1 million question. So I say this because I truly did just come back. We went to family camp for diabetes, Camp Conrad Chinnick, which is right 2 hours east out by Lake Arrowhead. And they have a therapist who runs the camp. His name's Rocky Wilson, and he's amazing. But he had all the moms in a circle, and that was literally the number one thing was okay, it is true, you need to put your oxygen mask on first. And one after another, people were just, whether they were, and frankly, as a single mom, I was kind of sitting there going, what are you people talking about? You all have another person there to help you. But in many cases, that did not make this better. In some cases, it made it worse because there was a lot of anger about how much they had to take on. But everybody universally was like, yeah, no. And I found myself sitting there kind of happy that I had tickets with some girlfriends to the Go-Go's at the Hollywood Bowl a few days ago, and that I was, or a few days after camp, and that I was like, oh my God, I at least have something planned that is just pure fun, no child, no diabetes. She's going to be with my dad. It'll be fine. But I realize those things are hard. You don't take care of yourself. You're sleep deprived. I find I'm eating whatever my kid will, all of our food decisions. And granted, we try to make healthy food decisions are really driven around your kid.
Right.
There's not a lot. Yeah. You end up really trying to squeeze in something. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I had a massage. How about you?
Yeah, no, I feel like, thank God for phones.
Yeah.
Because I am never off.
No.
There's not really a time that you can turn off.
No.
Because even if Liam is with his dad, I end up with a call or a message or something's happening. What should we do about this? Or whatever it is.
Right.
And, so there is there's not really, and even now, as I was picking up my other son, dropping him off somewhere, and Liam calls me and he's talking, his CGM that I had just changed was really bothering him. It was very painful, and that doesn't usually happen this long after.
Yeah.
So we were trying to troubleshoot on the phone, but I'm like, I need to stop home before I get here.
Right.
And I need to make sure
Right.
that that's okay. And that's kind of, you can have the best laid plans.
Right.
And it can derail.
Right.
You know, now somehow we did Disneyland earlier in the summer, and we high-fived at the end of the day. We were like,
That's a win.
That was a win.
Okay, wait, did
we
you do
kept
the free
him
passes?
in number.
Did you do the free passes, the speed passes?
You know, we did do the speed passes. We went with
Fast
somebody who is a member, so we were like, it was the top of the line Disneyland that you could.
Oh, nice.
We had never done it like that before. I don't think I could ever do it like that again.
amazing.
But it was amazing, and but we were, and it was really helpful having been able to do those speed passes and not have to wait in the lines all the time, because you do have to kind of monitor but just keeping his numbers in range that day, we did it for the whole day.
The whole day. Yeah.
Wow.
You're
He
not down
didn't
at all.
drop low, and he didn't go too high.
Right.
And
And in part because you're going all day too.
We're
So your
going all
kid has
day.
a churro, but they're walking
the
all over
adrenaline
the
of
place.
the
and the adrenaline.
rides
Yeah.
and-
yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
adrenaline, we find that does, and fear drives his numbers.
Right.
When he's an intense, like his science fair project, he really wanted to do a science fair project, but he didn't have enough subjects, so he couldn't do it. But he wanted to test diabetics playing video games
Oh, interesting.
and their blood sugar, and does their blood sugar
Interesting.
change?
That's
And because he didn't have, it was fascinating because our prediction was that when he plays video games, his numbers go up because of that adrenaline
Oh, yeah.
when you're playing it, and that you're intensely playing.
Yeah.
So, but the teacher was requiring a certain number of subjects that you had to have to make the experiment. We didn't have that. We didn't know enough diabetics. We were like trying to figure out how we could do it, because you'd have to test them.
Oh, yeah.
You had to set it up to make it work. But anyway, I thought that is a great experiment.
Right.
That is a great experiment.
Because there are things like that.
Right.
That absolutely, when he starts getting stressed, his numbers, we have to work on when you're
stress.
getting anxious or you're stressed, because that plays into your numbers.
Oh,
So-
for sure.
So going to see the Go-Go's is one thing. But
Yeah.
do you talk to anybody about your feelings about, because you have to be angry, devastated, sad, in some ways it's the death of a dream, this carefree parenting that is not in existence.
No.
Do you take care of yourself in that way? Is there a support group that you go to, or?
So there's a couple things. So I was seeing, I do talk to a therapist probably once a month just on my own stuff, of which this is part of it. But there is also, I found out an organization at UCLA that is at least the first 5 sessions I think are free, but it's called the STAR program, and it's for families in trauma to help with resilience. And literally, they talk to families with death, divorce, or disease. And so it's kind of how I look at it as the 3Ds. But they will literally meet with you and your child to talk through how you transition through this. And so when we got paired with an amazing therapist, and she was really awesome in telling us Molly was handling this exactly as she should. But the hypothesis is that how your child deals with this is how they're going to deal with a lot of other things in your lifetime. And so, and it was nice knowing this too, because we've then been able to refer them to other folks we know who have had death in the family or disease or divorce. But the woman who runs that is a type 1 mom as well. And it's funny because when I talked to her about it, she was like, I never thought about this for that, but you're right. This would be a really great place to go.
It would be, I would imagine.
Been a huge resource. So we saw them for a few sessions, and then they were like, Molly's fine, but if she ever wants to come back, let us know. But she's absolutely handling this like a 6-year-old should. And then lo and behold, this spring, when all the things were going on with the nurse, she was like, I really want to go back and talk to Jeannie again. And so we did. And Jeannie's like, nope, this is absolutely why we're, and we're here if you need us for exactly this reason, because those are the types of things that can get you to be really angry and mad about being diabetic and different and all that stuff.
Right.
So, but I talk to them. And then I do find the moms that I've met that have had that also have this have been insanely helpful. But it is challenging with because I feel like other friends of mine, we have a really tight group of moms we knew from preschool or from those early years at the elementary school. They don't get this. As much as I would like to believe, I don't know how, I look at it now, I don't know how you would oh, you're still dealing with that kind of thing. Or we were at little mini vacation with some folks, and Molly was low, and I, after swimming in the pool all day, so I let her sit and basically watch a movie and have some pasta, because that's what she needs. In another, and I will say it's a Santa Monica yoga pant wearing mom was just like, you're gonna let her eat pasta and watch TV? And I was just like, yep. Oh gosh. Yes, I am.
All day long, lady.
All day long.
Sent me
Right. My child will not be doing that. And you're like, well, my child really needs to do that right now. And I'm really sorry if that makes your child jealous that,
right.
But I do find that as well. I think our first month of diagnosis, I was we were in a Ralph's, and Molly, we just started learning what a carb, like I knew what a carb was, but like she was really she's 6, like she's just learning how to do this. So she picks up like a bunch of those bunny carrots with the long green stems, and she's like, Mommy, these don't have any carbs in them, right? And I could feel the eyes of all the other moms looking at me going, why does your 6-year-old know what a carb is? Like I was somehow fat shaming my child. And so I feel like there's
not fat.
Who is not fat at all.
Who is not
right. No.
fat
so
at all.
Not at all. And so, but it is interesting how people's reaction to some of these things, or not knowing, I feel that when I pull out a high chew on my person, I'm like, hi, please have this high chew. And you're low, and I know if I give you 4 grams of sugar, you will be fine.
Right.
Like you just figure out those things. And I wish I happened to have watermelon cold in my purse, but I don't. So fruit, right. Sally? I wish I had a really great fruit option just hiding here in my purse, but I don't right now, and this will work.
But a high chew fits nicely and doesn't make a mess.
You do. Right. I mean, so it's interesting because I do feel like those people, like, definitely, like, they want to be supportive. We had friends come visit us in the hospital. People could not be nicer and want to be supportive, but that really understand the trauma that this and the continuing hits that keep coming with it.
And I think there can be a lot of judgment that people make, just like that judgment about what you're putting in your basket at the grocery store.
Right.
I have to say that I really haven't felt much of that. I think there's one person in my life who I feel like is very judgmental. Yeah. And so I kind of keep away from that person.
Yeah.
Because I can't really, it's a person who doesn't have children. And I feel like, you don't know. You don't know. And I feel like he can be very judgmental about what you put in front of your kids to eat, or et cetera. And so, and he had commented to my sister that, well, if he only ate better, which is exactly the wrong thing about type 1 diabetic.
Because people don't know.
They don't. And he should, though. But anyway, I won't go any further with that. But it really, that's one thing that even now as I talk about it gets me really angry.
Right.
Is that judgment. But other than that, I feel like I haven't run into that a lot. Yeah. Thank God. But I hear it from a lot of other people. So I think I'm just lucky that I haven't, because it's really hurtful, more than people probably really can understand.
I think they think they're being helpful.
Maybe.
Like you're just not considering that this is,
And the other thing is,
what you need right now.
Right. And the doctors at Children have been really good about this. This doesn't mean that he can't have pizza.
No.
This doesn't mean that he can't have a piece of cake.
Right.
No.
This doesn't mean, and some people are like, oh, he's having a piece of cake.
Right.
Or, but that's not it. And I always have to think, obviously we try to eat in a healthy way, just because that's what we should be doing. But when we went to Disneyland, I'm like, this is your day.
Enjoy it. Live it up.
Yeah. We're gonna
Churros
account for
all day
it,
long, right?
And this is what we're gonna do, because and they need to know that. And I really feel that they have to feel that normalcy.
For sure.
And they have to know, because as much as this does rule their life, they can't. They have to understand.
Life's not over.
No.
Right.
And I remember being in that room in CHLA, the one that one wall was plastered with athletes and singers and people who were type 1 diabetics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in that moment, I said to Liam, this will not define you.
No.
We will figure it out, and you will do everything that you have ever wanted to do.
Right.
Everything you did before, we will just figure it out.
We'll just figure it out.
And that is our statement. Like when something happens, I said, we'll figure it out. Let's figure it out. That's what we do.
Because almost everything can be figured out.
No, it's totally true. And I think one of the things, when we were in the hospital the first night, I knew 2 people that had type 1 kids. And the first one was their daughter was in college, was a freshman at Arizona, but she'd had it since she was 2. And the other one was her daughter's 2 years older than me, but they'd been diagnosed 2 years before. And I Facebooked both of them to figure out, like, you're never going to believe this. And they both called me within the hour, and they were like, the number one thing out of this, she is a kid first, no matter what. Like, you're going to let her do every kid thing, because that is the most important thing, is that she is a child who has a childhood, not a child who is that diabetes rules everything. And so that honestly has pretty much been what we've tried to do. So you want to try a new sport? Let's try it. You want to try this food? Let's try it. You were at a birthday party, the people who say at a birthday party, like, can you have it? Yes, she can absolutely have it. We'll just figure it out. You just give them insulin for it. But the reverse of that is, I feel like if you deprive them of all this stuff now, to your question about teenagers, you're setting up a rebellion down the road that is painful to get through.
And life-threatening, probably.
And life-threatening.
It could be life-threatening.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great motto. She's a kid first.
Like
Kid
all
first.
kids. Like they're kids. They're here to have a childhood. Let's give them one.
So, Maura, what do you do to take care of yourself emotionally?
I was hoping we were going to skip over
I
that.
didn't forget that, because see,
Leanne's going to bring this back, isn't she?
It's a hard
the
one.
thing about Maura, I see her as like a mama lion.
Yeah.
Like, and the
You
care
have to
for
be
the
with this,
children.
yeah.
And then, not to get too into your personal life, but she is divorced. So that's 2 households to manage. I mean, in some ways that may be even harder than being a single parent, because now you are managing someone else that, I mean, you and your ex seem to have a fine relationship. It seems fine to me, but I would imagine that would be another challenge on top of the other challenges.
It is.
Yeah.
It is a big challenge. And he's involved for sure. But it still, in some ways, because he's out of town a lot.
Right.
He has had a harder time wrapping his head around this and dealing with this. And
He's very emotional.
He's very
about it
emotional
when he
about
talks
it.
to me. He's really
very emotional about it.
Yeah.
Even today.
It's hard.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's been difficult, because I feel like it is on me.
You're the rock.
Holding
it all together.
But not that he is not trying, and not that he is not, because he really is, but he is really struggling with it all.
Yeah.
And it's a big struggle for him. So it's challenging. And there's a lot of managing, I feel like, that I have to do. See, Liam just texted me. He had to text me his number when he had to calibrate, but it's a good number. But I don't have a lot of time, honestly, for self-care. I mean, I certainly try, but I'm working full time. I have 2 kids. And between everything, it's hard. It's hard to get out. It's hard to go out. It's hard to, it's summer, so I'm off. So I'm, exercising more, which feels so good. But I don't even have a lot of time. I know I have to, people say you have to make the time. There's just so many hours in the day. And quite frankly, because sometimes you're up in the night, I'm exhausted. I'm making dinner and I'm exhausted to think about, sometimes I don't want to go out. Like a Friday night for me, I always say, I laugh. I mean, for me to go out on a Friday night, I'll fall asleep. Me too. So it is not so easy. It's just not, I try to get out with friends.
But that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
I'm talking about that emotional care of have you talked to somebody about how you feel? Like, this sucks, and my life is, this is what I would think I would go through after everything I've listened to you both describe. I think I am such a positive, let me figure out how this works. Let me persevere. This is not going to get us down. We'll figure it out. I'd have all those pieces, but I know I would have the pieces of, are you kidding me?
Right.
This sucks for me too.
Oh, completely.
This is devastating for me too. This has changed my life too.
Absolutely.
And you have to I would feel guilty for feeling that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have type 1 diabetes.
No, but you do. Like, your family has it, and your whole family has it. Like, I'm sure your other child that's not type 1 also feels the impact of all of this, because you end up.
How could they not?
Right. My dad, who is a huge support system for us and takes Molly on a regular basis for grandpa days or whatever, which gives me a little bit of a break to do something exciting like clean the house. it takes, I can watch it take a toll on him as well. And he's similar to your husband, like you, or ex-husband, they really has tried so hard to learn as much as he can so that he can spend that time with her and have that. But it does fall on myself a lot as well. Yeah. And then but you do, like, I've had those moments. We had one this weekend where I at one point I was with a friend and I couldn't stop the tears from coming because it had been a lot. And it is a lot when you're, at weird moments. Like, it doesn't necessarily back up when you're thinking, like, like I thought when we first went to diabetes camp last year, I was a puddle because we were new into the diagnosis. Right. This year I was one of the veterans who could kind of hold it together. But if you'd asked me going into it, I was like, I'm sure I'm going to cry my way through it. They have an event called Wine About Diabetes where it's literally parents of diabetics with a lot of liquor. Of course, it's going to be a cry fest.
Love that.
Right. Like, it's a great way to go.
How do we organize that? Not for diabetes.
Right. Exactly. Right. We can whine about anything. Right. I love the headline. Yeah. But like I think that's the other thing, the unpredictability of when that's going to, because you're right, it does. It absolutely hits me.
It would have to back up on you moments, at some point. I mean,
and even 2.5 years into it. Yeah. The other night when I was up, when it was alarming 4 times, I wanted to break down. I was really tired that night, and I didn't know exactly why this was happening or what was going on, or, and I'm like, this is
the unpredictability.
Yeah, and so it does, and it does. It's frustrating. I get angry. My heart breaks for him that he has to deal with this. And there's just another layer of this that I'll tell you about in a minute, but that has happened this summer, that it's just another layer where I'm like, what else does this kid have to deal with?
Right.
This is enough.
Right.
And he is, again, I mean, I know I'm his mom, but he is really an exceptional kid, because in going to Children's Hospital, we will, sometimes going there is our best medicine in a way, because we will walk down and we will see children in wheelchairs who are in terrible shape.
So much worse.
And one day I turned to him and I said, you know what, Liam, we're blessed. And we kept walking, and he goes, Mom, we are.
Yeah.
He goes, I can walk, I can talk, I can run. I'm like, yeah. And so sometimes we need those reality checks. But it's heart-wrenching. Yeah. And I guess somewhere down the line, maybe it will be easier, but there's someone that I know, and I don't know her very well, but her son is a teenager, or I believe off to college now, but she just said it's challenging. Those years are very, very difficult.
Well, we all know about Bret Michaels' years, right? Partying diabetic, where he almost died over and over again.
Not so
good. Is not that I think either of your children will do that, but I think that's a possibility.
Well,
they just go, screw it.
What did we do in high school?
Oh, come on. We don't even want to talk about what we did in high school.
Exactly. It's a possibility if your kid's not a diabetic.
Oh, totally.
It's just more life-threatening if they are.
Right.
But that would scare the shit out of me. Right. That would be so scared.
Yes.
Yep.
For that, because alcohol has so much sugar in it.
Yes.
And alcohol's everywhere. And even if they have one beer, oh my God.
Right. Diabetics drink vodka and that ultra whatever. Like, I literally see so a really good friend of mine is a type 1 diabetic, as luck would have it. And we were friends. I didn't know she had it. She got it when she was 12. And we literally became friends at a summer job in Huntington Beach, where after the Warehouse record store closed, we would all go and drink like fish at this random Baja Willie's place. And I literally, when I didn't know, as her friend, really good friend, did not know she had this. And then I've asked her, like, how did you do that? She goes, I just drank and I would go to the bathroom and I give myself insulin. And she's like, you guys just never paid attention. I just drank a lot of vodka. And I was like, are you kidding? Like, that's okay. Like, you can do that? And she's like, you just figure it out, to your point.
Right. She's Which is, for me,
scares the crap out of me still.
Yeah, right? Liam and I have these conversations, and I've said to him, I just want you to always know that you can be open with me, that I'm not going to be judgmental about things. But I know as you get older, you want try things, or you're going to be out with a friend and you're going to eat a donut. You know,
Right.
at this age, it's a donut. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, which is so risque.
But I'm kind of trying to lay the groundwork.
Yeah, right? Totally.
But that I just wanted you to be safe, and I know you're going to try things. I know you're going to, you know, but
And hope you do.
You need to think about how we just need to figure that out. And I want you to know that you can always come to me and ask me, and I will help you through it. I'm not obviously, you know, I'm your parent, but I just want that open communication,
Right.
because I do worry about that. The last thing I want is him, you know, and that's, you know,
Right.
the trying something kind of behind your back where, you know, it could have a devastating effect.
Totally. Yeah, that would be scary.
Yeah.
And, you know, you just have to, I guess you have to approach it as, this is the normal parenting area. And in this area, I'm actually not a parent. I'm a partner.
Right.
I'm a partner in diabetes.
Right.
So the parenting piece is, let's keep it separate.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And in this area, I need to know what you're doing so that I can keep you healthy and safe.
Right.
So they had college students at camp as the counselors, and they had where were all the parents. And they asked them all, like, what were the things were like the one thing that your parents did that drove you crazy, but what was the one thing that was most helpful? And universally it was, because they all acknowledge that this is really trying. And exactly that phase, they're just tired of it, especially if they got diagnosed when they were younger, they're just exhausted. And so there were parents that, like, when they were really tired of it, just picked it up and did as much of it, the work for them as they could. Whereas normally you'd be like, no, you're a teenager, you need to take this on.
Right.
Instead it was, no, at this point I can't do it right now. And the parents kind of stepped in and tried to help as much as the kid would let them, but it literally was
Right.
navigating exactly what that level was, that was support and helpful without feeling like you're taking away
Their
identity.
independence.
Yeah, their independence. But in this area, because that fatigue, and it's called like diabetes fatigue or something, but that while they're in your house and you can give them that break or that help, this is when you want to do that. And then they will know that you are there to help and support and not there to judge. Why aren't you doing this yourself? Which I have to
Right.
say, like, I would have thought, because you're right, the teenage thing is to try to take as much of their own lives on themselves. And the
Yeah.
kids were like, yeah, I want to do that in almost every area of my life. But sometimes this is just too much and I can't do it anymore. And you're going to be the only person I can ask
Right.
to help me take this on without feeling like I have failed, which I was really surprised to hear these college students be that open about that. And then the ones who didn't have those parents, you could see also that didn't have supportive parents were very much like, that would be nice.
That would have been great, because it is quite a load to carry.
It
I would
is.
imagine.
Yes.
And if you're carrying what every other teenager's carrying, and then you put that on top of it,
Yeah.
that would really be hard.
a lot.
Be hard to manage, because you know they struggle for independence that they're not actually ready for.
No.
You know, that's what they want, and they actually, I think, know they're not ready for it.
Yeah.
So wise kids to say, actually, this one piece.
Right. It was nice they could look at it
not ready.
retrospectively. I mean, you're kind
Yeah.
of like, because I was kind of thinking they were all going to be like, please don't, and they did say this too, please don't bug us about what we're going to eat. Like, just let us eat it. Like,
Right.
just
Right.
please do not make this a fight over a donut, which was actually the thing that came up. Please don't make it a fight over a donut. It's not worth it.
Right.
And you're like, okay, interesting. Which I have to say, I do agree with. Like, it's,
Yeah, I do. I really feel like
Right.
that, because there have been times where I can't remember what it was that we were going. Liam really wanted to eat, and I said, "Okay, you can eat that." And he tested, and he was high. And it was something that it was a group of people, so
Right.
that everybody was going to be having it, and he was high, so he couldn't eat yet.
Yeah.
he had to wait.
Yeah.
And he just broke down. He said, "It's okay. I don't need to eat it." And he broke down. He goes, but I know he wanted it so desperately.
Yeah.
But I said, "Honey, you can have it. We just have to wait. So don't worry. You're not going to not have it. I know it's a bummer that you have to wait right now, but you're still going to get it." Because he was like, "Forget it. I'm not going to," like, it was kind of like he was angry, you know,
Right.
"Forget it. I'm not going to have it.
Right.
I can't have it." I'm like, "No, you are.
You are.
But we're just going to wait."
right.
You know, and
This
it's
is just gonna
that's
take
when you
some time.
see those little things.
Right.
You know, when he went to middle school, because he was diagnosed in elementary school, in the beginning, I had emailed his teachers ahead of time and spoken to the school nurse, and the school nurse, who is full-time, though every time we had an emergency this year, she was at a meeting off campus. She's like, and the two of us laughed about it because she was like, "Why is that?" You know,
right? Every time.
But she's fantastic. But unlike your situation, but where was I going? Oh, but going to sixth grade and a new school,
huge.
He said, nobody knows me,
Right.
and he said, in elementary school, people knew me before diabetes. They knew me as me. Mm-hmm. And so he just like, I don't want the diabetes. I don't want them to be like, that's the diabetic kid.
Right.
That's the,
Yep.
And it was really interesting. And ended up, it was fine. And his class, and at the beginning, nobody knew. And then people started to find out. And people have generally been extremely supportive.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think,
The other kids and are very, he'll say, but he seems to have a group, even when somebody was giving a hard time on campus, there were other kids that were like, oh no, completely.
this
We're
is
like,
not
you
going
do
to
not,
happen.
you do
Yeah.
not even go near him. Because there was one kid who this year, I will say, who kind of started picking on him, but then started picking on him about diabetes.
Oh, forget it.
Talk about Mama Lion. I
I'll
was
take
like,
that
and
guy
here I am,
down,
middle
too.
school, because you can't, you have to figure out, like, you're not going to go marching in as the mama in middle school. You have to. So we talked a lot about, we kind of role played.
Okay.
What can you say? What can you
Right.
say back?
Right.
And some of the things that this kid was saying about why, I had to explain to my kid things that he had no idea about yet, that words and that this kid was using, and then putting the diabetes piece into it. It was horrendous.
Was it?
And I said, what is wrong with this?
Right.
I said, this kid has something wrong with him. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Is he the kid that got suspended?
I believe he was suspended.
He was suspended.
Yes.
Is he?
Then he realized later that he's like, yeah, Mom, I think he has a lot of problems. I'm like, this, based on what he was saying, I'm like, I'm sorry, someone doesn't just say the things
No,
that
right.
it was really,
heartbreaking.
really bad. But the great thing that came from this is that he realized he has a support system
Right.
around him.
Right.
That there were people that came to his defense.
Right.
And he had to he had to stand up for himself.
Right.
And he had to, we role played a lot of things, and we talked about how he could handle it, and he did it, and
Confidence.
he really kind of stood up,
Right.
and it stopped.
Right.
And this other kid ended up apologizing to him later. And he's like, Liam, will you accept my apology? He goes, yeah, we're good. Like, he just kind of, and I couldn't have been more proud. I'm like, you could hold a grudge, but you let it go
Let
and
it
said,
go.
we're done. It's over. Move
So
on.
now I have a question. What happens if there's a natural disaster? Do you have like a stash of stuff, or how do you, it's got to be part of your contingency plan for earthquake,
We have stuff at school in Molly's classroom as well as in the nurse's office. So if something happens, she literally, the teachers would grab her bag, and the nurse would grab the bag, and whoever's with her would have the supplies that she would need to be okay. And then I feel like every type 1 mom I know has a purse that is a 7-Eleven and a CVS all rolled into one. Like, you end up having the supplies with you. I have a glucagon pen with me at all times. I have sugar with me at all times. Like, I feel like you end up kind of just carrying the stuff with you. Molly has her own little backpack as well that has her stuff in it. And then I feel like we've trained so many people to know, basically just so they're not afraid, but like the basics of how this works. So if something happened, they would at least be able to help her through a legitimate problem.
right?
Like, and honestly, like those lockdown drills at school now, like they're now, unfortunately, like her teachers are very well aware, like, you got to grab it. Yes, worry about all the kids. Grab this bag too.
Right. Got to grab it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you need to have, you keep things with you at all times. The school has supplies that are there, and he carries a certain number of supplies with him at all times.
Right, so he has it.
It's the same with when you travel.
Yeah.
And we go on an airplane. I sometimes ship a box, depending how long we're going to be, of medical supplies, of the things that have to be changed. but then I always carry enough with me
Right.
on the plane because I'm afraid of what might happen.
Hi,
Yeah.
babe.
Hi, Bert.
Hi, Bert.
What happened with that?
He just turned it off.
Okay,
It's,
turn it on.
it's been okay.
Okay, yeah, I have a podcast in here later. I don't want it to be holly shit.
Your
for me.
podcast is at 2 o'clock.
We'll be
Podcast is
done.
at 2.
You guys having fun?
Adorable.
Yeah.
It's a very sad topic.
I don't know if it's fun, but I've learned a
informative.
lot. I've
feel
learned
like,
a lot.
I feel like I'm developing diabetes. I'm not even
don't-
joking.
Type
Like-
2,
say
babe.
that.
It's
You
type
can
2.
change
No,
that.
no, no. I have to say it out loud. That's how I work. But
Okay.
yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not. I
Different
feel like,
type.
Well, if you
Yeah,
like,
I
we
know.
could test you and
Yeah, right.
if you could do a fasting blood sugar in the morning, I can totally diagnose you.
For real.
Yeah.
All right, it's good talking to you guys. The second they're done, turn that and drop it to like 68, okay? Okay. All right, have fun.
All right.
I got you sushi.
You
I was
did.
with our art teacher.
Okay.
Aw.
Thank
That was
you.
very nice of you, but
It's very nice.
He's very sweet.
he is sweet.
He is very sweet.
Yes.
I have to
I'm a
say.
big fan because he is.
Aw.
He has. There are times where we've been at a party or whatever, and I'll like walk around the corner, and Bert's just talking to Liam, and they're having this. He's just asking him questions,
Right.
having this conversation, and he's just so empathetic. And I just Bert has. I have a lot of respect for him. I feel like he's been very empathetic towards both my children.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
He loves you and your kids and Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
when you found out about Liam's condition, we were at the park getting our softball pictures taken, and Liam was getting his baseball picture
gosh.
taken. Do you remember this?
I think. Go
and
ahead.
I was
Yeah.
sitting on a picnic table, and Jamie sat down next to me, and I said, "Something's wrong with you. What's wrong with you?" And he fell apart.
Yeah.
He started crying, and I went, "Oh my goodness!" And then he told me what was going on. So I've felt very connected, even though
story.
I'm not, in your day to day by any stretch of the imagination. That moment with Jamie made me go, we have to care for this family in some way. I mean, it was so hard to sit there with him while he literally sobbing fell apart.
Yeah, he was
It was
was
so
an
heartbreaking.
absolute mess.
And I came home and told Bert, who also his heart broke.
yeah.
He was like,
Yeah.
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
I can't believe
those
this.
first
it's just
days.
so
It was
rare.
so close because as I had mentioned, diagnosis was Thursday, Friday, Saturday was his first baseball game, and they said for him not to play because we were still trying to get his sugars to not play in that game. But we talked about it, and I'm like, "You're suiting up." His coach, I went and saw his coach on that Friday night. And he was amazing. I explained the situation. I mean, I'm in shock basically in this
yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely amazing. But I said, "You're going to dress for the game, and you're going. We're going to go." And I think there was pictures before that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and I saw somebody else another friend, and when I saw them, I was trying to. She looked at me and she knew something was wrong, and I started to explain. I couldn't. I was trying not. I thought if I let it go, I'm going to be. I can't right
Yeah,
now
yeah.
because we need to be at this game, and Liam needs to know that he's not playing, but he's a part of this team.
Right.
And
And
I
he's
need
good,
to keep
we're
this
good,
together.
yeah.
And, but it was those
Jamie
days,
couldn't keep it together.
No,
Bless
he
his
was
heart.
hard in those early days.
Yeah, and he
really hard.
He's very emotional, and
He's emotional still today because
He
I
is.
think that I've talked to Jamie many times before that moment in the park.
Yeah.
But when I talk to him and I say, "How you doing?" I think he hears it in a deeper way than just a casual "How you doing?" a lot of the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
I think we had a moment where he just couldn't help it. He just couldn't help it.
No.
Right.
Nor should he try. I mean,
No. But that's
he-
really a testament to you too that he felt safe enough because you are trying to hold it together at that point, and it's so much to unload on another person. So it is a testament to you as well that he felt safe enough to have that moment with you. to be honest,
that's sweet to say.
Yeah, and I just don't think he could at that point. Like you were a
couldn't keep
familiar, gentle face,
Right.
that he
Right.
knew, but he was, yeah.
But it was clear that
really-
something was wrong.
Yeah.
It was clear.
Really, and again, until you're really in it, you really don't understand how life-changing and how tremendously overwhelming
yeah.
it is.
Yeah, I can't imagine. And I know his reaction had to have been I'm looking for tissues because I think you're crying. Are you crying?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm good. It's just, but it really is. It's a hard thing, and it's hard to hear about when other people go through it too, because you do immediately empathize with exactly that moment for yourself, and it like no matter what. And it's, as we have now, we've recently met other people who are new in their diagnosis, and we went to dinner. Molly and I went to dinner a couple weeks ago with a girl and her mom who had just gotten. They were like 2 weeks in, and they, we were just at the local Earth, Wind, and Flower on Wilshire across from the so we're there, and she was like, this makes me feel like we're going to be able to be normal. Like, I didn't know how we were going to go to a restaurant. Right. I didn't know how we were going to be able to leave that. Like, there's so many things that, like, I don't know how my kid's going to have a sleepover. I don't know how, what mom is going to be okay having the diabetic come over. And lo and behold, we have we do have a friend who's going to have Molly over next week. And, Molly, I think, is a little nervous because she's like, what if it's just a late over? And I'm like, then I will come pick you up like any other kid.
Right.
Diabetes has nothing to do with this.
Yeah. Right.
Other kids would come out, if you want to come home and sleep with mommy, that's fine.
Totally.
But like, you do end up kind of trying to find those people who are going to be somebody that you can have those honest moments with, but they do back up when you least expect them.
Yes. And you know what you said just before, even when you started speaking and you were talking about her diagnosis, I had chills.
Right. Because those moments.
Because I can feel that, and I can. It's that piece that somebody doesn't. Like, I know that feeling. Yeah.
Your life is going to change, and you don't know when that happens. That your life is going to be different.
And it was about 2 weeks after diagnosis that Liam had been invited to a sleepover at a friend's house, and he had been looking forward to the sleepover, and I was nervous, completely freaked out. Like, how is this going to happen?
How am I going to do this?
But I knew that this was a pivotal point where I needed to somehow make this sleepover happen.
Yeah.
Because he needed to know that
life
he
would go on.
Could be a normal kid.
Be a kid first.
Yes. And you made it happen. That parent was phenomenal.
And most of us, that's something I think people listening should know.
Yeah.
Most of us are.
Yeah.
I got asked to chaperone a field trip for our middle school by a mom whose daughter's epileptic. And she said, I know you'll be fine. So I had to do a teeny tiny bit of training with the nurse. And then I myself was like, coincidentally, I was taking a CPR class because I'm a Girl Scout troop leader. And in my certification, I said to her, what do I do if an epileptic has a seizure? Really walk me through it. And she did. And so I was completely as confident as I could be to, because I'm not her parent. And that is something that makes you nervous because, God forbid something happens.
Sure. Right.
And we were on a mountain range, and if something had happened, I would really have to have handled her for a period of time, which I would have been completely 110% fine with.
Right.
Yes. And I think it's hard. I would imagine if I were in your position, I would feel so bad to ask that of a person, because knowing that is not a small ask. You're basically saying, here's my child's life.
Right.
I hope that you can handle it.
Right.
It's challenging. It's not normal.
No.
But for me, I'm fine with that. And I think there are, maybe not everybody, but there are a lot of people who are way fine with that. And people listening today maybe don't feel that there are people like that, or that there maybe is not someone in their community that's like that, their immediate friends or family. But you can always find somebody, I think, if you reach out to maybe a support group or go on a Facebook chat page and find someone who's local that knows what you're talking about, or pair up with someone else who has a diabetic kid.
Right. And the other thing is, as much as we've made it sound like, because I realize this too, like the odds of any of the dire situations happening is actually pretty rare. Like the odds of your child, because we did ask this because the nurse, of course, at our school, I took her to the endocrinologist. She was there for an hour and a half, did not ask enough questions, didn't ask any questions. But the assistant principal went with us as well and asked, point blank, like, what are the odds that we're going to have to use that glucagon pen, which is what you use if your child is literally passed out and unresponsive. And she's like, you should never have to use that.
Right.
And most people will never have to do this.
Right.
You have to carry it because that might happen, but the odds of this ever happening in her lifetime are slim.
Right.
And so you're kind of like, oh, because when you leave, you're like, oh my God, any second I'm going to have to do something.
Right. She's going to drop.
Right. And the reality is, what really happens, and what, the folks in our life who are comfortable with this is that she'll go below 70, 75, and you'll have to give her a Skittles or a High Chew or some watermelon or an orange or something, or some juice. The situation is she's on a glucose monitor. So, it's called a Dexcom, and it beams the information. It measures her blood sugar every 5 minutes. It tells me what her blood sugar it is. It tells my dad. It tells the assistant principal. And so if she's dropping pretty quickly, and she's at a friend's house, I will see that, and I can call and say, hi, you might not have noticed this on her phone because Molly's probably playing with her phone, but if you could just give her an apple, and I will have left all the supplies in her little case, which I'm sure you do too. Like, her case has everything she would her little backpack has everything she would need. She might just need a treat. And we give sympathy treats too. Like, her friends are as empathetic as they come when they also get a thing of Skittles or they also get a High Chew. So there's 2 of everything. Right. But that most likely is the situation. And then she's on an Omnipod, which is another type of insulin pump. And so if somebody does need to give her insulin, it's literally punching 2 numbers into a phone, or what looks like a BlackBerry from 1998, and it doses it. And so it's not as complicated. In the early days, it's hard because you're still on shots and you're doing these finger sticks at this time. But at this point, we're both on these pumps where they do a lot of the math for you in figuring out and they do the dosing. So if she's at a friend's house and needs something all of a sudden, she's 8, so her math skills really are not up to par. I'm sure Liam can do this all by himself at this point. She needs help.
But for sure.
Yeah. She needs help. But otherwise, it's much easier. It's a much easier ask now. I think when you're in the early days, you're like, oh my God, I need to bubble wrap her.
And you can't go with anyone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And so we did a lot of play dates. Like, I am the most fun mom at her school because I'm the one that will pick up the kids and take them after school to Sky Zone because I know that she wants to go. I know she's going to drop like a stone. She can have a Slurpee and it'll cover her the whole time. It'll be fine. And you figure those things out. Or I'll be the one that takes them to the park, the pier, whatever.
Right.
So I'm the fun mom by default because it's easier for me to do. But now that she's a little older, maybe she can go more as well. She does sometimes, but you're right. It feels like a big ask. It feels like, now.
But it's not. I mean, it's not. It wouldn't be for me.
Okay, I'm dropping her off anytime.
Perfect.
Let me know when.
Are you kidding me? Georgia would keep her.
Yeah.
She'd never let her leave. Yeah, but I don't feel that way at all. I mean, I didn't feel that way at all about Georgia's still really great friends with the young lady that's epileptic. Mm-hmm. And every time she goes, I don't even think about her having epilepsy.
Right.
So, because like you said, the odds of something going on is so slim. Anything that's really, truly dangerous, really, really dangerous.
And Liam is, and in this will happen.
He can do everything,
he's aware. He is very aware when he has a low.
Yeah.
Before he even looks. We are on a different system. Yeah. We are on the single loop system. With Medtronic.
Yeah.
So the one thing that they don't have, which I was just doing another survey for them, and is my biggest issue, is they do not have an app.
Yeah, the app is amazing.
And so they're working on it.
Right.
But they don't have an app for the phone.
Wow.
So I can't see his numbers, which is crazy to me because they really have this most advanced system.
They do.
What is, it's considered the artificial pancreas. It was finally approved by the FDA, a year ago. I mean, we were on a fast track to get it. And basically what happens is the CGM automatically reads to the pump, and automatically if his numbers are going up, it will automatically dose insulin.
So you don't have to do any math and tell it.
It will do it. I mean, you have to be on top of it, but I mean, it keeps you just miss those highs.
Right.
If at night he is dropping low, not only does it alarm like anything else, but it'll stop any insulin that's being given. It stops it completely.
Got it.
So there's safety.
So it's very smart.
It's very smart.
Very smart.
And so that's fantastic. But I'm like, so you have the newest system, but you don't have the app
that
all these other people have?
Right.
So I don't know if it's just they put all their money into I don't know, but they're
coming.
like, it's coming within the next year. So
and then all the other systems are trying to catch up to this. So they're trying to develop
technology,
systems that actually, so the company that makes the CGM that has the app and has been like just amazing at CGM standards going forward, they are working with 2 other pump companies to also develop this closed loop system. So everybody at some point, like that is I will say the one thing is, if there's a good time to have diabetes, now is a good time, because the technology on this is moving so fast to make everyone's life who has this disease life even better and more manageable. So it is less chaotic. And then I did hear this, I don't know if it's true, but that folks who are type 1 and manage it for their lifetime actually statistically live longer, healthier lives because they have to.
Yeah, they have to.
Right.
Yeah,
And so,
that makes sense. I was going to
yeah.
ask that question. What is the life expectancy different for someone with type 1 diabetes than someone who doesn't have that? And also, what are the complications when you get older? Are there any complications that are related?
Yes, if you're not,
if you don't manage it.
The importance of keeping your numbers in range is huge because of the, I don't know if you say it taxes the other organs of the body. So for example, we just, at CHLA, we had to go see an ophthalmologist because they wanted to take pictures of his eyes as a baseline, because the eyes can be affected, but later in life.
Right.
That's something that that's now added to our list of doctor's appointments of going, yearly to just always monitor, because that's a big diabetic issue.
Now, is that an indicator that something's not going well with diabetes, or is it just an effect?
Effect, I think.
Effect, but I think it can, if your numbers are not in it, there's more of a chance of that happening.
Okay. Yeah.
That's why that range is so important, and why that closed loop system, if you never get up to above 300, which is easy to do.
Oh,
to
we
be
were
above
over 300 while we were on this call.
Yeah.
Like, while we have been on this.
Yeah.
So I've been literally monitoring Molly's blood sugar while we've been in this the whole time, because when we were perfect when I dropped her off at school, and then she went up to about 370 while we were sitting here, and is now back down to 201.
Oh, that's great.
That's just while we're here.
Okay, so
I texted the nurse while we were here. They already had her in her office. They were already, basically, again, she's 8, but so she decided to have a snack without going to the nurse to cover it. And I think she probably thought, like, I'll just have a snack and I'll wait until the next break to go, because she has these 3 little class breaks. And you can't wait. You have to, exactly as she said, you have to dose before you eat or when you eat, or this is exactly what happens. And then you end up with this huge spike and then a huge fall, which she describes as a whoosh. Like, it feels like your body is just all of a sudden whoosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great explanation. I have to ask Liam.
Yeah.
He's never used that.
Now
he feels it.
I asked her how it felt, and she said it just, as soon as it starts dropping, and it goes really fast.
Right.
The other thing that was a good thing that somebody told me, which I think it was the diabetes educator at Children's, but everyone's blood is kind of like a river, and it flows really freely. And if you think about that consistency, when you're high, it becomes like syrup. All that sugar makes it like molasses. And so the taxing on your organs is that all of a sudden your body can't get, it has to work a lot harder to get the nutrients and everything else out of it that it needs. And then other organs like your liver start trying to compensate and try to help, but they really can't. And so you end up fatiguing these other organs. Right. But if you keep it in that range, it continues staying like a river. And it's, for some reason, when she said that to me, I was like,
that's great. I've never heard that, but that's a great
I totally get
analogy,
that. And why you would not want molasses or, syrup going through your body all day. But I imagine it being sticky on everything.
Right. So tell me some resources that you use. What is tell me the Facebook group that you used again. What's it called?
There's 2. One is Parents of Type 1 Diabetics, which is awesome. And another is the Type 1 Mod Squad, T1 Mod Squad. Both are started by moms, and they end up giving you a lot of tips. The other thing, though, I will say is there are also a lot of people are there reaching out when they're in the middle of a crisis situation. So it can also be a situation where after a little while, you'll be like, oh my God, I can't keep reading this for a little bit because it's too much about some of the bad stuff that could happen.
Right.
But for the most part, I've gotten amazing tips. The number one resource we have found in Southern California has been the Padre Foundation in Orange County. Worth the drive. They do free classes for continuous glucose monitor, free classes on pumps, free classes for kids going back to school, for high school, middle school and high school kids going back to school, which also then is a resource for them to meet other kids. They do social events as well, and they're trying to partner with Children's to bring more of those things into Los Angeles. But basically, They do so many things for free just to let you know you're not alone and make sure you have the training to make the best decisions you can for your child.
And how did you find that place? Like if I were in Iowa, how would I search for something like that?
So it's a good question. If I were in Iowa, how would I do that? And I will say one of my things that I would like to help them with as a volunteer is to actually help them go national,
right?
Because I think the resources there, I think JDRF is amazing, and their mission is truly to try to cure and make it easier. So on the technology and the investment side, they're hands down great. This one for connection and actual really hands-on education
and mental health,
and
probably,
mental health. Yeah, it's run by people who are type 1 or parents are type 1, but I don't know how they'd find it, to be honest. I really don't. We knew about it because it's run out of Children's Orange County, and there is a lovely couple, Dick and Mary Allen, who have donated a lot of money to create the Dick and Mary Allen Diabetes Center for type 1 in Newport Beach. And my dad is friends with Dick and Mary because their son Brett played football with John and Todd.
No way.
Totally. Their granddaughter got diagnosed when she was 2, and he had been working at a medical company, and he decided that this was where they wanted to spend their, donate, where they wanted to donate money. And so when this happened, my dad's first phone call was to Dick and Mary, because he, of course, had been to fundraisers that they had done over the years. They'd also done a lot of work with JDRF. And my dad, I think, probably knew before I did that Molly was diagnosed because of all of his exposure to these various things. But we immediately were put in touch with them. And they do hand out their brochures, I know, at Children's and other places. But I feel like you get like a lot of pamphlets and a lot of paper, and you're not sure which of these resources are going to be super helpful. And this is one that I can say unequivocally, everybody that I've sent to them have really gotten a lot out of. And then they do things like they'll have a day of surfing with diabetics, and they'll have a day of snowboarding with diabetics, or a day. But basically, you, the parent, get to drop off your kid, and your kid's going to be safe and supported and be around all these other people that are like them, doing all these things that are wonderful. And that really is a big part of what they want to do, is make sure that the kids are empowered and connected to other kids. And you as a parent also get that support and a minute and a break.
Yeah, in a minute. Yeah. Your dad is a great guy.
He is, I will say, yes.
We
could clone him. I would be a very rich woman if I could clone and sell him. He is quite amazing. But
and your brother Todd's a great guy.
They are both. I will say I'm definitely blessed in that department. Yeah. So someday you'll meet him.
Yeah.
He's lovely as well. He lives up the street in Silver Lake.
He does?
He does. I know.
I love Todd. Todd will just randomly show up at our house. Hey, I was in the neighborhood. What are you doing in the house? What you working on now? Todd and I worked together when I was managing apartment buildings. He was like the foreman or the contractor in charge of all the remodel. I was just the manager. So we worked together very closely. We were really close friends. And then he moved back to Costa Mesa. We moved to the Valley, and we just kind of got out. But he always, if he's in North Hollywood, he knock.
That's great.
What's going on? Or if there's some concert he thinks Bert would like, he invites Bert to a concert.
That's sweet.
He's one of those people that has that musical ability to just know, like, some small obscure band. Like, I don't have that skill at all. Like, you have to be a band the size of the Go-Go's or U2 for me to know what your music is. But both of my brothers could literally tell you the most obscure band and tell you to go see them, and it'll be like this life-changing show that you'll be like, how did you hear of that?
And then a year later, they'll be the biggest thing. Like Kings of Leon, he did that with Bert. He's like, you've got to go see Kings of Leon. That was years before they were a household name, so to speak. Right. Todd is
some people
really
are gifted
knacky.
at that.
He's knacky that way. That's his little knack. He's really cool. Any resources you have that?
I think JDRF has been great. They send out, I've had like 3 emails, from them already today.
They have a picnic coming up on Sunday.
And the JDRF walk has become very important. We do it every year in Pasadena, and it's become very important to Liam. Mm-hmm. We have our team Liam, and we have a name, and we always do a theme.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, you haven't done this yet?
We went to the first one this year, and we and it's funny because Molly wanted to go, and we went with a girl, like one of the moms that I met through some organization, but her daughter is 7th grade and had a team, same thing, like had a team, had shirts printed, the whole shebang. So we kind of jumped on her.
It's been 2 years. So
we jumped on her bandwagon.
Yeah. We have shirts made, and this year we raised enough money that we had a tent. We got a tent.
Oh, cool.
It was the first time we got food, and it has become, his friends come, his friends' family come, and it's become so important to him.
That's great.
And empowering, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's been very empowering, and he he admittedly will say, yeah, this has become really important to me, this walk.
Well, now I asked you last year to include me on this year, but you did not.
Well, though this year's coming.
Good. When is it?
No. Yeah, it's October. You know what? I have to look at the date.
I think you're right, though. It's usually
always the last weekend in October, but it might be the first weekend in November.
Well, include me.
I will.
Because I know last year I was like, please include me next year.
Because it's really... And
if
actually
Liam's comfortable...
Yeah, he would totally be.
All come.
Because a lot of... a lot of people have said, "Can we come?" And I'm like, "Of course you can come.
The more the merrier.
And
it's more fun with friends.
they set it up. And if we can get a 10 again, it's nice because you have a little home base.
Yeah,
right.
But it's really it is very inspiring. I mean, the first year I got there, I talked about becoming a puddle. Like I walked into the rose bowl, onto the road, and I fell apart. I just absolutely fell apart. And I'm like, okay, we got to get this together.
Right? Give it together. It's just a fun run. It's a fun run.
But it was really very emotional. It was really, and for him too. And but it's very empowering. So, I mean, that's been great. And I found that CHLA
amazing.
has been completely amazing. And I get all these emails, and there's there's a T1D talk at, a Starbucks in Woodland Hills that you can go to.
Wow.
I have to say I haven't done a lot of that. I did just join a Facebook group. I'm not really great with Facebook. I'm not totally into the social media thing, but I did for the Medtronic 670G, the pump that we have. So it's specifically for that pump.
That makes sense.
But it's been actually really really great. It's helpful. And people do put out, there's a couple people on there, I'm like, they are like the superstars of this pump. But they, people who things could happen or go wrong or, but it can, as you said, too many of these things does become overwhelming. It kind of, your
reminds you of the danger.
Inbox just becomes overwhelming.
Right.
And so sometimes, you have to put, a little bit of a halt to it, I find, for me.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Has Liam thought at all about doing the Children's Congress through JDRF yet? Like, he seems like he would be the perfect candidate for that.
I talked to him about this past year.
Yeah.
And I wanted him
what
to
is
apply.
This? What is it?
Children's Congress. So JDRF, I think like every other year, takes a group of kids from around the country, and it's like 2 kids per state or something, get to go and literally lobby your congressman. And so the congressman, so they go up to the Hill and they talk to them, and it becomes this big diabetes trip to DC. And the congressman actually talked to them. And this year in particular, because I knew somebody who went, it was really important because there was a funding bill that was up, and they weren't totally sure that it was going to go. And it's an opportunity for lawmakers to actually put a face with what this disease is. And it's, from what I understand, it's also another one of those life-changing things for kids, but they've got to be ready, because you've got to be the kid that when you get there can take all of, a lot comes with it, but it sounds amazing. They were taking, I think it was applications, but I had talked to him about it because I said, I think you would be
really great at this.
He would.
I think that you would be really great. And I think, and he did not want to do it.
He didn't.
So maybe next time.
Said, okay. And I
That's
just,
fine.
don't push.
Nope.
Same with, diabetes. We haven't done diabetes camp.
Okay.
And everybody has said, it's amazing.
Yeah. I was wondering
and it's
about
life-changing.
Because you are one that would do that.
And he has
to be ready.
He's not ready. He has been resistant to it.
Right.
He gets resistant to camp in general, but they talk about it, really is life-changing.
I will say, when we went last year and we were like 6 months into diagnosis, Molly was all excited to go. And then we pulled into the lot. She got out of the car and then jumped back in and said, okay, I've seen it. I'm ready to go back. And I was like, wow, we just got here.
Yeah.
And then one of the counselors, Leanna, came by, and she had just pulled into the parking lot too. She's was a freshman at Northwestern, and she was coming back to camp for the first time in a long time. And she kind of talked to Molly, and Molly and I made a deal, like, okay, we're going to stay until tomorrow. And if you want to go home on Saturday, it was, midday on a Friday. Like, if you want to go home Saturday night because you're not having fun, we will absolutely leave. And I just made her that deal. But mommy needs to be here for mommy too. Like, this is for both of us. This is family camp. And that was literally how I talked her into staying. She really wanted to go before we got there. But after a day and a half, she was so happy, and there were so many fun things. And it was, and they're definitely, it is more emotionally draining on the parents for sure, because they do have these circles and, these kumbaya circles or whine about diabetes, but they have Jen Fisher or Jennifer Raymond, who are 2 of the endos from Children's. They're endocrinologists from all over town, go for free and volunteer their time there.
Wow.
Nurses from around town volunteer their time there. So So they truly are in a place where they're like, listen, your kid could not be safer than at this environment. Every counselor in training is somebody who is a type 1 diabetic. And that's also super helpful for the kids to see. Like Molly now wants to be a counselor there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, like, I asked her this summer, like, would you rather go to diabetes camp or Hawaii? And she's like, diabetes camp.
That's
amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a huge statement. And I'm sure there are diabetes camps all over.
All over the country.
All over. Is that something that's sponsored by JDRF?
So some of them are attached to ADA, which is the American Diabetes Association, and a lot of them are independent. Like the one that's close to us was started by a doctor 60 years ago who saw a need and a YMCA camp and kind of partnered it up and made it happen. I know I have a friend whose daughter goes for 3 weeks by herself outside Dallas and has said the same thing. She's been going since she was 7, and it's like, it's the one vacation her daughter won't miss.
Right.
It's also not cheap. Like that thing is like $3,500 for that 3-week camp. Camp Conrad Chinnick is actually super reasonable. They almost all have scholarships available. Like I know for our camp, there's a huge gala and fundraiser coming up, but they literally have said they don't want to turn anybody away.
Right.
Because they know what a difference it can make.
Yeah.
But one of the things I will say for Liam, if he's interested in trying it next summer, is that the kids who keep going back, because they keep seeing their friends every year, it becomes a really important thing. And then they come back as college students as well. Not every year for college, but they'll come back and want to do that again. And it recommits them to their friends, to their buddies. But that window, I think, is probably high school, I guess. I don't know. They do it all the way up through high school. I don't know when does camp get not fun? I don't know.
I don't know. Georgia went to, my girls are hardcore Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
And Georgia went to Girl Scout camp and had a blast.
They love
she's
it.
almost a freshman in high school. She went as a counselor in training.
Oh, it sounds like so much fun.
She had so much fun. She got paired with another counselor in training.
She's in charge.
Quote, unquote, in charge. Somewhat in charge. But, well, I feel like I learned a lot today. I had all these statistics that Sally just spurted out in the very beginning, so I don't even have anything to read, and you answered all my questions. So I think it was a very good conversation.
Thank you for bringing up the topic, because when you first approached me about it, my first thought was, I'm not podcast material. But I have the exact same reaction. That's just not me. But I said I will do anything to further education,
me too,
funding, whatever it takes for people to understand this disease and to understand it and donate and fund it to find a cure. Yeah. Because there needs to be a cure.
Right.
And they keep saying how close they are.
Right.
But I do think it can be very misunderstood, and you just it's hard enough on our kids that you want it to be people to understand it, so they don't make those stupid judgment calls.
Well, should you be eating that?
Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, just clearing up the confusion between type 1 and type 2. Like the idea that my kid has somehow done something, or I have done something, or she could do something. Like, are you sure you should be eating that? Yeah, absolutely. She can have whatever she wants. This is not that.
It's almost like two different diseases with the same name.
It is.
I think that's what's really confusing.
Which is super confusing for everyone. I don't know who creates these naming issues.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, the problem is the same. Is the pancreas
it's the pancreas, yes.
It's the same problem at the base. But it is two totally different diseases, because when I was researching this, I thought, I didn't know this was an autoimmune disorder.
Yeah,
I had no idea. And I didn't think it was caused by diet. I had a friend as a child that had type 1 diabetes, and I didn't understand that that's what he had. I just knew that he gave himself shots, and he could not have Hubba Bubba bubble gum.
Really?
Every time I offered him Hubba Bubba, he was like, I can't have that.
Oh, interesting. All right. So, gum is like our go-to for things like stockings at Christmas, or but of course it's all Trident. It's all the sugar-free gum. I know. Now I'm
Hubba Bubba.
I remember Hubba Bubba.
Now I'm dying to know how much sugar is in Hubba Bubba.
Probably 8,000 grams, right? But I kept going, I don't understand. He's going to laugh if he ever hears it. I don't understand why Gerald Jr. can't have Hubba Bubba.
Right.
And it's because he had type 1 diabetes, right?
And as an autoimmune disease, they are more susceptible to other autoimmune.
I didn't know that.
Diseases. Yeah. So they are tested every year.
All the time.
For what?
For blood.
What's another autoimmune
Thyroid,
disease?
Celiac.
Celiac.
No.
So to her point about like the hits just keep on coming, you just hope that you don't get one of these other things. And then because your immune system is already compromised, it takes longer to heal. Molly broke her wrist. We had to get a cast because they weren't totally sure how they needed the extra time in the cast to heal.
Did not know that.
Did you just get one of these other celiacs?
We went for his last endo at the end of May, and it was worst ever, and we got back that he has antibodies for celiac. So we had to go see a GI this summer. And so now he's up in a few weeks for an endoscopy where they're going to, because it's not positive that it is. He has no symptoms at all. But they're going to do a biopsy of his esophagus, stomach, and intestine.
Oh my good grief.
And so that hit us hard. That hit me really hard that day.
Because
I'm like,
you think,
why does he need something else? So we have to now restrict him.
Right.
And
celiac is just a diet.
It's brutal.
Right. That diet is brutal.
Brutal. So
you know who has celiac disease is Jeannie Turbo. Mm-hmm. She's diagnosed with that. So if you ever need any advice,
I will be going. This will be because this is. Yeah, this is a brutal one. Well, I mean,
and hopefully it'll go back and it'll prove that he doesn't have. I will say if this
that
gives you
I have been praying. I can't tell you how hard I am praying for him not. I'm like, give this. Besides, about 6 months after diagnosis, he ended up in the hospital with appendicitis.
Oh God. Okay.
So he ended up getting his appendix out. So I feel like, the hits kind of keep coming.
Right.
Was the appendicitis related
no,
to?
Not related at all.
Just random.
Just totally random.
But the possibility of celiac is I didn't know celiac was an autoimmune.
It's a
yes, it is.
And and your likelihood of getting it is higher if you're type 1. So
if you're type 1.
If this might make you feel better, we also tested for that, and we tested while we were at UCLA, and then when we went to Children's, they basically were they made us go to the GI doctor and go do that, and he basically looked at the tests, and she tested positive for one of the antibodies but none of the others, and didn't have any of the other symptoms at all. And he was like, the test that they did is outdated. He goes, if something else pops up, but like right now, he goes, there's not enough here to do the endoscopy. And we were literally on the endoscopy track.
Yeah.
But even then, like, the false positive out of that initial blood work is and he was really clear with us
how much I'm hoping for that.
I hope for that for you too.
Put it out there for us because
false positive.
That was devastating. And she said, the GI said, it's 2 times as high. If it was like 10 times as high, I would say it's definite. Right. He has no symptoms.
No, he didn't have any either. And that's the thing too. Like, you don't really. The
you don't even want him to have to go through the biopsy.
No.
Who wants to do that?
Well, he was like another procedure, Mom.
Exactly.
He was anyway.
Right.
Oh man.
So there's a lot.
It's a tip of a big iceberg.
It is. It's tip of a big iceberg. So I appreciate you putting that topic out there for people to try to understand it.
Understand it. That's my whole point. Is I want to understand it. That's it. Right. And understand. I didn't understand anything really compared to what I understand now. It's far more complicated than I thought it was. I knew it was a complicated condition,
right?
But I didn't understand the intricacies of it. It's so hard. You guys are brave, strong.
Those kids are
women.
That have to.
But they are because you are. But they are because you are.
But you just don't have a choice.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
You have
no choice.
No, I agree with you.
I could never do that.
But that's not entirely true because there are people
who
can't. They may be able to keep the pump going, but they can't keep themselves emotionally together to be able to parent the child. And then some people may be able to keep themselves emotionally together and can't keep them healthy, can't keep them in range. So you should, in my opinion, you should give yourself credit for being able to do all of that, because that's really what your kid needs and requires.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And there are people, maybe some people who listen thinking, well, I'm that strong too, and I'd never thought of myself as strong. As you just do what you have to do. I always grew up thinking, well, you just do what you have to do. Mm-hmm. It's not even a discussion or a thought. Right. And then when you take a step back and allow yourself to be, to feel who you are in a certain way, and say to yourself, no, actually, this is kind of monumental. This is not a small thing you're doing. This is really huge. Right.
That realization has hit. I think that realization that this is monumental and huge, maybe that's the first day in the hospital.
No, but
you are correct.
That you are.
That it is for us,
monumental and huge.
Yeah.
to be able to take this
Take it
on in the way that you have, and to
Thank
be
you.
successful at it,
Yeah.
and to be happy, functioning. I'm going to the Go-Go's.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
that's
I'm leaving my child and going to relive a fantasy
Exactly.
I had wanted to do Go-Go's when I was in high school, and I could not go. And here they are at the Hollywood Bowl
my
for
God.
July 4th. Like, I'm going to go do that. And no, I'm not taking my child.
diabetes, schmiabetes.
Right.
I'm going, right?
She will be fine.
But that's a big thing too, for you
Right.
to be able to trust.
you have to
and-
find those things. Yeah, you have to find those things.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
They don't happen often, but
No.
you know, but they don't happen often as a single mom anyway. So then you,
Tell me
that's the other
about
thing
it.
is realizing it is not all about diabetes either. Some of it is just the luck of the draw because
Yeah.
we've chosen all to be moms and to have these really brilliant kids with happy lives and be as engaged and thoughtful about parenting as we can be. So
Yeah. And like Liam says when he walks down CHLA's, or
Yeah.
you said, we're pretty lucky. I
we
mean,
are pretty lucky.
my kids have challenges, nothing like yours. Not even
different.
close.
But different.
But still, it really sucks to be in 7th grade reading at a 4th grade level. That
Yeah.
sucks.
No,
I mean, it's
totally
not
sucks.
life-threatening.
Yes.
And
Right.
but it sucks. And
Right.
to have to parent that sucks too.
Yeah. Right.
And then to
Yes, it
parent it
does.
properly sucks too, because
Yes,
sometimes
it
you want to
does.
go, just read,
Right.
just keep practicing
Absolutely.
reading, come on, you know.
Yeah,
You
I
just
figure-
don't want the cupcake. I know you want the cupcake, but just don't want it, you know.
Right.
That's what I would think. I know,
know.
you why you want it.
How hard is it to just not have whatever it is?
Yeah, but you know,
Right.
so it's hard to
Her
be
go-to
that.
foods, pasta and corn. How hard is it, Dad, to not have pasta and corn for dinner?
Can't you choose lettuce?
I know.
Just one.
Zucchini is awesome.
Zucchini's amazing.
Zucchini noodles. I hear they're all the rage. No, but no. I think I echo exactly what you said. Thank you for having this and for asking all these great questions. 'Cause
Well,
now-
thank you. And then go to, I've said it a million times, jdrf.org, right? You
Yes.
can
Padre
donate
Foundation.org.
there. You
Yeah.
can find
A lot of information there for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources, I would imagine, and find a walk.
Yeah.
You know, if you're
Yes.
looking for something fun to do with your family on an afternoon, go do a walk, raise some money, donate the money, because, you know, we just did the color run for nothing, you know,
Yeah.
for no cause, for no nothing.
Yeah.
But I thought, why can't you do that for Juvenile
Anything.
Diabetes
Yeah.
Research Fund and then donate that money?
Yeah.
And it's still the same fun run. You just may not be covered in colored powder.
Right.
but it would be amazing. But it's a way to help your community, because
Right.
diabetics are everywhere in our community.
They are.
So thank you for educating me, and I hope everybody else got some education too. Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.